I put auto racing up early tonight because I want to get your attention on a couple of names. One of them is 24-year-old Lori Johns, who won the Top Fuel division at today's NHRA Southern Nationals. 24-year-old Lori Johns in the Jolly Rancher Red Top Fuel, going against Joe Amato on the left. Now, 24-year-old Lori Johns has already won once this year. She turns in a speed of over 270 miles per hour. She wins the Southern Nationals. She's the first racer to win 2 events this year.
You won't see very many Texas A&M sorority sisters driving Top Fuel dragsters. But Lori Johns not only races, she wins, and wins big. In 1985, she was named Rookie of the Year. At that time, only 2 women had won an NHRA race. Lori became the third in 1990. When in one day, this determined competitor defeated formidable veterans Don Perdone and Kenny Bernstein.
Everybody looked at me with skepticism and scrutiny, and I really don't blame them. But the more they've been around me and they've seen how dedicated I am and how serious I am, they don't really think that way anymore.
No. Now when Lori moves her dragster to the line, they see a tough competitor who knows her car. Lori Johns finished the 1990 season ranked 4th among Top Fuel drag racers, right behind Joe Amato, Gary Ornsby, and Dick LaHaye. Lori knows that with her fame comes responsibility, so she takes her experiences to the schools, where she teaches kids the science behind safe driving. Her racing ability, along with her looks and exuberance, have earned Lori a number of fans of all ages.
Somebody asked me if any of my competitors ever, came onto me, and I don't think they even see me the way they probably see other women, and I've never gotten that impression from any of them. They basically treat me as one of their competitors, and I don't think they would even look at me in that way.
But Lori's getting attention off the track, too, which resulted in this ad for Dare Perfume.
The strangest thing that's happened is, since it came out in magazines, I've had men at the last 3 races with Cosmopolitan and Red Book magazines. I bet you I've signed 300 or 400 of them, and all these men have them.
It's been 30 years since drag racing's first Winter Nationals. Now, just when dragging seems to have come of age, there's a new kid taking over the strip. This year's driver for winning the Top Fuel dragster category is only 24. But as a former debutante, Lori Johns has taken vows before.
I'm Lori Johns.
If you haven't heard that name before, you will, because Lori Johns is the hottest thing on wheels right now. At the recent Winter Nationals, she became only the 3rd woman to win a dragster title in the history of the National Hot Rod Association. And she did so by beating the best men in the business.
I grew up wanting to do this from the time I was like 12 years old. I said, well, I'm going to be a race car driver when I grow up. And of course, everyone thought I was crazy. It's certainly something different. Sometimes I ask myself, why do I do this? Women come to me all the time and say, I'd love to be doing what you're doing. I wish I could race. And I think there's just as much interest from women in motorsports than there is from men. I think drag racing, to a person who has never seen it before, is one of the most incredible things in the world. I don't think that you can hardly even explain to someone what one of these Top Fuel dragsters sounds like or feels like until you actually get up close to one.
You've been racing all your life, but when did you first
Well,
get
I
it?
started racing when I was 17 years old. I wanted to race since I was about 12. My father was a race car driver.
Oh, okay, so that got you interested. I thought we would start right away with some video of what goes on, because you're in those things, for people who don't know, this is drag racing, as we call it, and they go like, how many seconds?
We did a quarter of a mile from a standing start in about 5 seconds flat at 280 miles
and
an
then
hour.
a parachute shoots out of there. And,
Right,
well,
stops the car.
we'll see what it looks like. Here's Lori Johns in action.
And now, if you want to hear about speed, mind-boggling speed, listen to Lori Johns of Corpus Christi, Texas.
There's nothing in the world like going 280 miles an hour. This is something that I wanted to do since I was 12 years old, and I love it. I enjoy it, and it's been my lifelong ambition, just as if I decided to be a dress designer or an executive in a company.
Lori Johns is smart enough to be a company executive and pretty enough to be a model, if not a designer.
What's your name?
But she has chosen to earn her living in the toughest kind of drag racing, the Top Fuel category, accelerating to 280 miles an hour in 5 seconds, and subjecting her body to twice the gravitational pull experienced by astronauts.
When I first started, I had a lot of pressure on me and a lot of people looking at me with scrutiny and looking at me like, what's she doing here and what does she want? And now they just treat me like one of the other racers.
When she's not racing, Johns gives lectures on auto safety to high school students. When she is driving, she's beating Joe Amato here in Atlanta last year, winning 3 times in all and finishing as the 4th-ranked driver for 1990. We were happy to learn that Lori Johns spends the minimum possible amount of time in the fast lane. Forrest?
Sounds like a great life. Thank you, Ray.
She's blonde, she's beautiful, and she lives in the fast lane, defying death at 277 miles an hour. But forget beating the sound barrier. This gutsy lady has broken the sex barrier, taking on the toughest, meanest men in drag racing and beating them at their own game. Producer Nancy Gershwin and reporter Steve McPartland tried to keep up with her.
When I have a brand new hairdo, with my eyelashes all in curve.
From the point where my crew chief comes up and tells me to go ahead and stage the car, my dad's standing up there, my mind goes completely on to only what I'm doing. I have no pondering thoughts, believe me. It just, I go up there to stage the car, and I have a couple of things I need to do after I do that, and when I'm ready to go, all I think about is driving that car.